To begin, what'd you do? What'd you do? First thing, add 7, right, to both sides? Okay, so we did this. How many of you distributed the 3 next? Nobody, right? What did you tell your partners yesterday? Don't distribute with absolute value, right? So resist. So it's not a distributed property. What should you do instead? Divide by 3. You're isolating the absolute value. You're getting it all by itself. So that gets you here. And right here you have to say, is it an absolute value that's less than a negative? Is that what I have right now? Bless you. Is it less than a negative number? No, right? If it was less than something that was negative, if you ever have an absolute value of stuff that's less than a negative number, you would have to say no solution. Because an absolute value will never be negative. But we did not have that case here. But I'm hoping you at least checked for it right there. So once you have the absolute value isolated and all by itself, you make your 2 versions. Positive one and a negative one. You drop the absolute value bars. Nothing inside the bars changes. You're not changing the minus to a plus. You're changing nothing there. You're just rewriting it without the bars. And you do one version where the 6 stays positive. And you do another version where the 6 becomes negative. And since we're dealing with inequalities, the negative is going to make this symbol switch, okay, or flip. So the mistakes I've been seeing today are people forgetting to make the second version, period, like they just make the 1, and forgetting to flip the sign. And then from here, it's just baby algebra. You add 4 to both sides, you get 2x less than or equal to 10. Divide by 2, and you have x, did I say less than? X greater than or equal to 5. And on this one, you add 4 to both sides. 2x less than or equal to negative 2. Now I'm going to divide right here by 2, but I have a question for you. I do not have to flip the sign even though I'm dividing and there's a negative number. Why do I not have to flip the sign though? Because I'm not dividing by a negative number. The mere existence of a negative number doesn't mean you flip. Only if you're dividing by negative or multiplying. So I've got x less than or negative 1. Less than or equal to negative 1. Blah, blah. Let me show you. So you might have done beautiful math to there. If you have the following answer for your interval notation, it's wrong. And I'm going to put it in red to denote evil and bad. How many of you were evil and bad on your answers? There's a lot of you. Raise your hands. Be proud. Be proud of your incorrect evil and badness. Okay, let me show you why that's wrong, okay? This is why I recommend you do a number line before you write your interval notation. And remember, if you wrote your answer with squiggles, that was for what kind of notation? Squiggles is for set notation, but it asked you for interval. So this is interval notation, it's just wrong. So let me show you what correct looks like. On a number line, x greater than or equal to 5 is this. Yeah? X less than or equal to negative 1 is over here. That is 2 separate intervals. This evil bad one would be okay if we were trying to represent this green stuff right here. That is from negative 1 to 5. But that's not what we want. What we want is the red stuff. So let me take off the green stuff. So we need to write 2 different interval notations, one for this piece and one for this piece. So there's just 2 pieces. And so this one right here is your left boundary, comma, right boundary. What's the left boundary here? negative infinity. I say boundary because you can't ever actually reach it, right? But it starts way out here to negative infinity, and it's moving to the right boundary, which is -1. It gets a bracket. And what does infinity always get? Parentheses, right? So that's interval notation for just that part. But there's a second interval. This one. You write your left boundary, comma, your right boundary is infinity. That gets a parenthesis, the 5 gets a bracket. And how do we join those two things to show it's all part of one answer? The U, right? And even here, if I had done all that beautiful work, I wasn't fooled by this part, I successfully wrote this part, but Miss F is going to circle it because it's still missing what notation? X is an element of. Okay. That's like a lot of pieces. Okay. What questions do you have about that problem or something similar? Anything that you're still stuck about with inequalities? All right, I'm going to pass back your quizzes. We're going to go over them. Because tomorrow's the test, if you failed